Hi everyone, and welcome to our interview series titled Let's Talk. This is the first project being conducted by the Youth Volunteer Program of the Colombo Friendly Needs Society, also known as the Jaipur Fit Center. Just to give you a brief background, this organization was established in 1831, making it 190 years old, and it's the oldest charity in Sri Lanka. We currently provide services and facilities such as prosthetic limbs, orthosis, mobile medical screening and prosthetic services, educational grants, and self-employment programs free of charge, which is all made possible through donations. And to date, the organization has provided over 30,000 artificial limbs island-wide. Today, we'll be interviewing Mr. Julian Bolling. I am pretty sure most of you will know about him. He's a world-renowned swimmer who has represented Sri Lanka at 3 Olympic Games and won a total of 15 gold medals at the South Asian Games. And now he coaches swimmers, including those participating in this year's Asian Youth Para Games. Hi, Mr. Bolling. I'm Vinuki Mapagama, and I'll be one of your interviewers today. The other two, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Akila Hera.
Hi, I'm Rahil Vijayasekara.
Okay. So my first question, to start off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Julian, you're on mute. Julian, you're on mute.
Sorry, Rahil Akila, Vinuki, hi. So thanks for having me on board. So first of all, I might make a small correction. I'm not well renowned at all, but might be known in and around Colombo a bit. And I just love what I do in sport. So yeah, presently I'm a swimming coach. So that's the pool that we operate in. So the pool's open today, and we obviously run a extensive academy here with multiple, it says quite a few lanes, 2 pools, actually 3 pools, and quite a few coaches. So yeah, so I'm pretty much involved with this academy, having quite a number of coaches employed here. That's my profession. I still call it not a profession, a hobby. I love coaching. I love hanging out with kids and helping them with sport of swimming, helping them with life, helping them to enjoy what they like to do. So the journey with them. In addition to that, involved in a few organizations. I think Uncle Supreme is way more involved than me, way more when it comes to giving and giving out to society. But I'm involved in a couple of organizations, and one is to take sports to the community, especially the villages. It's still a new concept that we are working on, because we feel a lot of children in schools don't get the opportunity of playing sport. And I think every child likes to play sport, but what happens with schools is, they have teams for the better players and athletes. So sometimes the average kid doesn't get a chance to play sports. So maybe the communities can come in and stand in the gap there. Second thing is I'm involved with a coaching concept called 3-dimensional coaching, which is something that came into my life. It was introduced to me about 8 years ago. It's about how to coach kids in all 3 dimensions, whether it's physical, whether it's the psychology, or the relational, the spirit of the child, the human side of life. So putting all 3 together as a coach to make coaching a whole life experience. So I'm pretty much involved with in things like that as a hobby. Tomorrow I'm trying to jump the I got permission. I still have permission to travel around the country, which is still there's a lot of big restriction, but I want to go to the East Coast and do a bit of surfing. So I like to hang out at the beach and use what nature gives, so freely, the waves and wind. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell. Education wise, all right, I went to Royal College. That was a great experience, I thought. Thankfully, they didn't get us to do homework, so I went through 12 years of not doing any homework and managed to get through exams, which is nice thing, and great experience, great friends you build, and friends for life from school friends. So I enjoyed school. Went to university in the United States. It was a swimming scholarship, so I was able to continue my sport there. See to my studies. I was never a fan of studies, but obviously you got to do both, and I'm glad I did both. And yeah, which alone the university experience also was a fantastic experience. Lots of struggles, I would say, which I think is very common to all of us. Yeah, so that's a background to who I am.
All right, great. So why did you choose swimming and how long have you been doing it?
Say that again.
Why did you choose swimming and how long have you been doing
As a competitor,
both? Just why you chose it in general and why you chose to
yeah. So it's interesting. I'll try and keep it short. So I never liked swimming. My two elder brothers was part of the Royal swimming team. My mom was a full-time coach. But I said no to swimming, and thankfully I had parents also who didn't push any of us to do sport. But I remember mom telling me I was around 10, 11, which is a little late in the swimming circles to start swimming, because there's already an age group called the under 10 age group. So when you're in your single digits, 7, 8, 9 years old, you tend to race, compete for your school, and so it's quite competitive. So I had not swum in those years, and I remember mom telling me I was always small made. My size wise, my schoolmates, especially even the friends I had who were in the swim team, were way bigger than me. And mom once said, maybe if I swim, I might put on some size. And I got caught to that. At least he convinced me in that sense. And I went for swimming, and yeah, so that was a nice beginning. And never had plans of, when I competed as a swimmer, I really didn't have much big plans. Even in my latter years, I've been to 3 Olympic games, to put it on record. But any of those Olympics that I went for, I never planned. I just enjoyed doing sport. I just enjoyed going every day for practice, trying to do better than, not very serious about it, but trying to be better. And I think the fun side was way greater for me, and the teams that I was part of, than the performance. Even though we were looking at performance, so that kept me going from a long time. Obviously, I swam till I was 26, which is normally pretty old in the sport of swimming, because it doesn't pay you anything as such. So I swam till then. So that's my swimming career. Lots of ups and downs in my swimming career. I had, especially the latter years, more than 50% of the time I was struggling as an athlete. America, I remember going to America, I had many hopes of swimming even faster and being better, which everybody enjoys, right? To be better. But I struggled my entire 4 years there. And I was really unable to even maintain my standard. I went downwards, but now when looking back, the reason was because I really struggled with finances when I was in America. And I proudly say this, struggle is a part of life. I didn't have much finances to even eat. I used to survive on $2 a day or $15 a week. I must say, America, the food is still cheaper than Sri Lanka. Not just now, but at any given time. But it still doesn't give you enough nutrition that an athlete would need, to survive with $2 and perform. So that really, I think, hampered my performance. But I still continued to swim, and it was when I finished, I was able to finish on a high where, not that I won the 91 SAF games and those medals I won, which some people are unfortunately still talking about, because I think it's a very old story and it should be forgotten. But I was able to swim my best times at those games, which the public didn't know, but maybe my mother was the only one who knew that what was going on. So I had a different celebration more than just the medals. Yeah, and then of course I said bye-bye to swimming. My coach in America said, look, after I graduated from the US, he said, look, you should go back to coaching. And I was like, if you have a degree, you should be not coaching. I had this concept probably in my head that if you're a sports coach, you don't, it's for the uneducated or something. maybe I thought like that. I didn't deeply think, but I thought if I have a degree, I need to work in companies, which I did. I tried 2 companies, 2 different industries, the banking and the retail consumer industry. Worked in a multinational as well and an international bank. But really didn't fit in, and by default, I was struggling with finances again, not being paid much. So I did some part-time classes with kids. I suddenly realized teaching kids was fun, way more fun than being in a company for me. And also the finances were not too bad. So then I made that switch and I came into coaching. My mother was my coach and she was going to retire. So my brother and I both quit our jobs and continued with what my mom had built up till then, which is the Rainbow Aquatics, the club. And we journeyed together, my brother and I, and sadly he passed away 2 years ago. And his business also, we separated our business at one point, but now it's back together again. So all is well, and I'm just enjoying sport. But mainly, like I said, today I look forward to coaching in sport, mainly because I think coaching can really influence children, young people, coaches. But for us to be able to influence children, we should first take the first step in to change. And so it's a great experience, and happy to be where I am now.
So what advice would you give to aspiring athletes to overcome the laws associated with sport and competing in a sport on such a high level?
If I heard you right, say I try to make this beautiful scenery. That's the NCC, the non-descript cricket club. I came outdoors, but Vinuki, could you just maybe give that question one more time and say it a little louder, close to the mic, and then I might be, because I didn't hear you say the whole question that you asked.
Yeah, sure. So I asked what kind of advice you could give to athletes or aspiring athletes to deal with the load of competing in a sport at such a high level.
Good question. So yeah. So here's the thing, with this 3D coaching, because the curriculum really covers a lot. It's a very comprehensive curriculum. It got us to think, when you come into sport, where were you before you came into the sport world? Anyone? We were all in a play world, right? We used to play games. We used to play games with our friends, whether it was playing cricket down the street or during school interval in school, whatever game that was, we were able to play with. Sometimes even at Royal, I remember certain term out of the 3 terms, one whole term was dedicated to playing marbles, and we used to love playing marbles. And so there was a lot of play in us, right? And we used to enjoy it, and everybody wanted to play. And then obviously a lot of us decide to, when the opportunity is given, to go into organized sport. And there we, in the play world, you don't have a mother, father, coach telling us what to do, right? And if you're playing and the mom, dad calls us to come home, you don't want to leave that play area and go. But and you also remember, you play at a high intensity when you play with friends, very high intensity. We hate losing when you play with friends, whether it's a board game, any type of sport, when you play with our friends. But then obviously you make the switch to the organized world. And in the organized sporting world, you have this, competition is a big thing, right? So you start training a lot more, so that you can go into competitions and compete with others and have an audience maybe, or go for trophies and try and win something, or a medal, or to be included into a team. And every child, all of us, without knowing, we went into sport hoping that the fun element will still continue with us, even though we might have to train harder. We might have to go into more organized competition and discipline ourselves a little more. But unfortunately, what is happening is the adults come into life. The parents come into our lives when it comes to organized sport. The coach comes in. And a lot of times, if adults, including the parents and coaches, are involved in sports, so your parents want to help you with sport because they want to see results through you. That means fun is not their big reason. They want to be involved in sport, even as a parent. If I want to be the coach of swimmers, I think after this, you're going to have a young kid, Naveed Rahim, who's going to speak. He's just had the privilege of coaching in the last 2 months, and we have an international meet we are going for in Bahrain next month with the Youth Asian Para Games. And we coaches tend to also want to be number one coach or be better. So we almost don't see fun as the main reason why we do sport. So it's all about this winning thing. And then suddenly the child who wants to keep fun as still the main thing is not given that chance to have that fun, because we surround them with expectations and performance, and suddenly the child has to then leave the fun element, and they also replace it with performance to get fun, to find that satisfaction. They also go after performance. They have to win now to be happy, because happiness is not there in the sport. So then what happens with performance is, when you win something 1 year, it's very natural for all of us to win something more the next year. So when that extra thing, the more and more, doesn't happen in your life, when you don't start winning more and more, you tend to, and that becomes your source of enjoyment, then it becomes, that fun goes out, because now you're not even having fun, you're not even winning to try and have fun, and then you see young children quit. So I think for young kids, my advice is, geez, have fun. Make fun your number one reason, and fun is because of friends. Build solid relationships through sport with your teammates, and try and be the best you can be and improve yourself and go into competition. Guys, because I'm a little known. You introduced me as an Olympian, world renowned, winning medals here and there. And I always say, look, I won those medals is because, one is I was in the sport, I did my best, but the day I raced, my competitors also trained hard and came for the race. But thankfully, they swam slower than me also, no? So I think my advice for young people is, if you win or lose in sport, you either celebrate, or you can even cry if you want to. It's always good to cry if you're not too happy, but try and do it for one night. Celebrate for one night, cry for one night, go back into practice the next day, go back to being with your friends the next day. And if you have this balance, I think we can go a long way in sport and have more children participating in sport. Because in a school situation, if you look at the classroom, our teachers, right, your teachers allowed the A students, the B students, the C students, and if you go to Royal College, some of us, who are not doing too well in studies, even we are accommodated. So how beautiful is that? A classroom accommodating students at different levels. But in the sporting world, we don't seem to do that. Only the best tend to hang around, be in the sport, are recognized. But sports must be for all. So I think we must really sit down and figure out, because what we are doing. Because now if you see, children are going more and more into the gaming industry, the phone. So there is competition in the gaming industry, and that's become the biggest sport in the world now. It's a disaster to society. It's a disaster for young children and adults even, who are doing, using the phone more than they should. But in the gaming industry, what's beautiful is, again, young kids, you don't have a father, mother pushing them to be better in the gaming industry, right? No coach who is criticizing you when you try and fail. So we got to create, I think us coaches, adults, parents, all have to figure out that the new generation, if you want to keep children in the sport, we have to change. But for young children, I say, if you in sport, remember, don't make sports the reason you do sport. Make sports part of your life. Have a bigger reason for bigger purpose in life. I think you'll enjoy the sport a lot more. I hope this is not too long an advice.
No, thank you. Akila, over to you.
Yes, hi. So you're coaching the swimmers taking part in the Asian Youth Para Games this year, including Rahim, as you said, who we will be interviewing later this evening. What is the preparation for this like, and how has this whole experience been like so far for you?
Yeah, so Rahim, actually, something we do with it's like with Uncle Supem, and the work is involved in. I strongly feel something we do in our pool is also we opened our pool for especially the special needs children. We feel there is 10% of society are either differently abled or in type of special needs situation, and I don't think we seem to open our doors for them as much. So we purposely started opening our pool for special needs children. This is way before the pandemic came around, and we grew. So especially on a Sunday, we have volunteer coaches. We have our coaches who volunteer, outsiders who come, and over 70 kids and adults who get in throughout the week, and it was very successful. And then on that one particular Sunday, which is about 2.5 months ago, you can ask Navid. Navid has been a good swimmer. Navid has been a good swimmer. He's competed in the regular meets. He's competed in the 2-mile sea swim, which I think is quite a challenge, which is about 3 kilometers of swimming. So he turned up on that Sunday and he swam. And he wasn't obviously the pandemic. During this pandemic period, pools are being closed most of the time, at least 50% of the time. So he wasn't very fit and he struggled to swim. But I had a chat with him and the father, and they were like willing to, because we already had a girl, Galina, who's also going to travel with Navi to these games. She was training with us, and she had been with us another, at least about 6 months. And he was willing to give, a shot to train with us. And so it's been about 2 months now. Even during the lockdown, we got special permission from the authorities to train both of them. So they are prepared pretty well. Something I've told both is, look, I'm sure they're going to do well. But more than that, I'm not sure what the competition level is, because from the times that was swum for at the last games, which was in 2017, I think both these kids are good enough to make the finals and even try and medal, which is going to be good. But I told them, look, this is only the beginning, and then maybe I think they're enjoying the sport a lot. They're enjoying it. They have found good friends. Navid actually stays with us now overnight at the pool. And this morning we had a super session, strong session. Both of them swam very fast. So I'm hoping they will do well. But I think I like the fact that, like I said before, if you can improve ourselves, there's a tremendous satisfaction, and I think these two are both going to improve quite a bit. But I think I've trained another athlete back in 20 years ago, who's an army soldier who went to the Paralympics and took 4th, who lost his limbs in the war. So I've had that experience of training para athletes, and it's a great pleasure. They're very committed. It's extremely committed. I think I've always seen the differently abled people. We have a kid now, Isuru, who's also school going. He's without arms. He's born without arms. He's just learning to swim and he's enjoying it. We have a young man in his 30s who's blind, who swims about 4 kilometers in the pool every day, 4 kilometers fully blind. And he'll count his strokes every length to try and know where the wall is. And he does about. So all of them are training hard. And next month's meet, we believe it will happen. And hope for the best. And I've told them, look, either way, try and improve yourselves. We'll see where the competition is. And so, yeah, over the weekends, his dad comes and picks him up and takes him home so he can spend time with the family. So a lot of commitment from the family as well. It's beautiful to see how everyone commits themselves to helping kids perform.
So how do you think inclusivity can be furthered in swimming?
Inclusivity can
be furthered in swimming?
I think it's quite simple. We have to be intentional ourselves. And like I said, I think 10% of society, I was told at a conference once, a sports conference, that 10% of society, that's the biggest demographic group in the world in one sense, are differently abled, and I think we have to be a bit more intentional and, invite them to come over. Yeah, I think when you do that, it's amazing. In whatever capacity that we operate in, if we can include them into, being involved in sport, whatever sport we do, I would really like to, because we are making an example here in our pool about helping out with the differently able and special needs individuals, to make this a model for all pools around the country, because every village, every district, every point in the country will have people with such needs. And I think we can do a difference, make a difference. Uh, so I think we have to be intentional. We have to address and ask ourselves, do we want to include them or not? And it's something that we might have to promote and get people to even make that, create a bit of guilt in everyone if they're not. But the best thing is to show examples. And if you show examples and good stories, like what you all are doing here, sharing this, I'm sure we can make a difference.
Yeah. So, what is your favorite memory from all the competitions in which you have participated so far?
I mean, obviously, lots of different ones. Specifically, an instance, I don't know. I will give you a naughty instance. I was at the 82 Asian Games, the 1500-meter final, which is the longest race in swimming. I swam, the morning of the heats, and the finals was going to be the following day afternoon. So I get a 36-hour break. Normally, swimming all events, the heats are swum in the morning, finals are in the afternoon. This particular race, you get a 36-hour break, and I met up with this Korean girl, and I was like kind of dating her as well. So I was always mischievous, in spite of, shouldn't that be a little bit of in us, no? And that night I went to the disco with her, and I was dancing along, and I shouldn't have been dancing. I should have been actually asleep, resting for the following day. And my mother went on the trip as my coach, and guess who turned up at the disco? My mother. And I really got caught. And then I was chased out of there and had to then get some rest. And I did all right the following day in the finals. But so, you know what I'm saying? Memories don't have to be all good stories. So those things stand out. I remember 91 staff. I had to race this guy from India called Xavier, and we were clashing in the 200-meter freestyle. He was a sprinter. I was a long distance swimmer. Our common event was the 200 meters, which was right in the middle of all the distances, and it was big news. But prior to that was Christmas Day, and he and I both went to church, celebrated Christmas, only to race the next day. That was like the biggest race of the games. That stands out as an, and we are till now we are friends. The struggles have been good. I think struggles have helped me to learn a lot more in life. So if I talk about winning medals, it's only we are so limited. No, only few can win medals. So I don't want to really give that prominence about winning, because I think having fun, trying to improve ourselves, having our own little victories in life. And like I said, after America, when I struggled for those 4 years when I was studying there, came back, swam the SAF games, swam my best times after 5 years. That gave me more satisfaction than the medals. I was happy with the medals, not that I wasn't. But to hang in there for so long, when the struggles are sometimes longer than, I was reading a little devotion today, and it said, so pray to God to, for anything, and God will give everything, but God will give it at, God's own time. So sometimes we want the solutions immediately, and that doesn't happen all the time. It won't. And sometimes you got to wait. And for me, thankfully, for me to wait that long, I had a super set of parents, super set of coaches, super set of teammates who actually believed in me and accepted me into the team even if I struggled. So I think those things also matter. So those are my memories, and the highs of sport is sometimes the lows of life.
Oh, great. Thank you. So, Rahil, you can continue.
Thank you, Akila. Yes, Julian, Mr. Julian, my question was that Would you say that swimming as a sport has changed a lot from since you started?
But obviously, the speeds are faster. And when I swam in the 80s, 90s, little bit of the 70s, late 70s, pretty much old, aren't I? When we swam in the 80s, they were swimming times faster than what they were swimming in the 60s. So obviously, times are way faster now. I see the USA used to dominate swimming, but today you see a lot more countries also get. USA is still number one, but there's a lot more countries that are also producing swimmers who are winning. So it's more very universal now. But my biggest worry today is times have changed, and today I think young athletes, the one thing they want, the other day I had a set of young boys after training. They were walking back, and I said, guys, do you prefer for me to be your coach or your friend? Without any hesitance, they said, be a friend. So I think we must look at the needs of children today, and those needs today are, because back in the days when we did sport, if the coach says, we will do it, and it was natural. So we think we might do the same with the swimmers we have now. But today's young kids are saying, you know what, let's become friends first. Come into my life, be a friend, be a man, coach, but don't coach me from the outside, coach me from the inside as well. So I think the big, if not, they are not going to stay in the sport for long. They're very young today. They're very relational. They want a more relational context to be involved in than just competition and sport.
And sir, can you tell us a little bit more about the program you conduct with NCC for differently able children?
Yes, it's not only children, it's adults as well. We had a lady who was blind. We taught her how to swim, and she swam a event. Eventually, we had a 1 kilometer swim course in the ocean, that official race run by the association, which Navid as himself has swum. And this girl lady swam the 1 kilometer course. So we don't limit it to just children only. We are open to adults as well. Yeah, we are going to keep our doors open. Like I said, we first, even though I got involved with the I've been to 2 Paralympic Games. That was because of the fact that my mother was, the team she was coaching, which I was part of, was based at the Army headquarters back in the years when the war was on. So we were very involved with the Army, and we were able to bring in the Army soldiers, the disabled, differently able soldiers who lost their limbs into sport. And yeah, so that happened there because we were there. So I know it's a special place to be. And latterly we decided to go with the special needs, which is also a big need. And I think today we are really looking at both the differently able and the special needs as two very, very, very important segments in our society, and trying to reach out to the rich and the poor and make the pool accessible for them. It's interesting when you get a blind person come, how do you train them? So yeah, challenges are there, but there's always a solution, and it's always good for today. Naveed and Galina did a super set, quite hard actually, and some super results. I thought I was quite happy when they swim faster. But we all had the entire team today. The entire team was cheering these two on, because the team had finished their set before these two could finish theirs, so they had a bit of rest time, and they were like cheering these two on. And then it's like telling Galina and Navi to thank the crowd. Like, so we have a good time. It's not to get too serious. There are times to be serious about the sport. But yeah, so we are wheelchair friendly for the pool. We are wheelchair access. This is important, I think, in any facility, I think. So we have a thing called aquatherapy, that is physiotherapy for those who are physically needing therapy, who can't do physical training. So we have had people who are paralyzed who come, and we get them to exercise in water. So that's another side of what we do. Yeah, so those are things we do. So some of the times we want them to mix with the just the normal kids that are there, and sometimes the special needs class, which now since the pools are open, I think next week we'll start coaching them. There we separate the time because it almost needs a one-on-one attention. You know, one athlete or one individual needs one coach. So sometimes those needs are different. So we look for volunteer coaches as well, and we have quite a few volunteers who turn up now to support us in this program. And we can do this in every community.
And lastly, Mr. Julian, do you have any particular advice for those who are trying or willing to pursue a career in sports who are differently abled or anyone for that matter?
Yeah, so my sad thing is I think every differently able child or adult will want to do sport. But we are not giving them access. So Uncle Supem's, we had a chat the other day, and it's great that edX, right, the sports event, which is fantastic. And I said, competition is great, and they need competition, but they need day-to-day training. They need to get out every day and be out there. So I think we might have to, as society, make room for them. They will come. They are waiting to come. It's just that we don't provide that service for them, and something that we all can come together. And if you come together, yeah, surely we can make a difference.
Thank you, Mr. Julian. That's all the questions I have. And now I'll
Thanks,
hand it
Rahim.
over to you, Vinuki.
Great questions, huh? Hope I was okay with my answers.
Yeah, definitely. So that brings us to the end of this interview. Thank you, Mr. Bolling, for letting us interview you and for letting us know more about swimming and sport for differently abled people. And thank you to everyone who joined in as well. We'll be interviewing Rahim, who will be participating in the Asian Youth Para Games at 5 p.m. So if you're interested, do join then. And thanks again, Mr. Bolling.
Can I suggest something, guys? I think, recently Gamini and I forget the other athlete's name were able to win medals at the Paralympics. And there's a bit of, actually, they saved our country from sport, right? Our able-bodied athletes went to the Olympics and fumbled. And who brought credit to this country? Who brought credit to this country? I'm like, the minister, I work with the minister, and I'm in a committee, and one of the committee members said, look at the results. I said, man, at least we got it done through the para side. So when we go to Bahrain next month, I'd like to see whether we can link from there with you guys and do a workshop, a short one like this where we can get, and there are a few other athletes from different sports that are going, about 6 of them. And because the media doesn't give this prominence to the special needs. So maybe what we can do is, do a live streaming of the events, and give Colombo and Sri Lanka, and not just Colombo, the entire country, a chance to view this, because no one's going to film it. And maybe one of us, when we are there, we can film it live on Facebook or something and get people to watch, have a recording of it, had them interviewed over there like this, a Zoom chat with all those athletes. So that's just a thought for y'all, and y'all become the spokesperson for this special group of people.
I think that's an excellent idea, Julian, and I'm sure we can do that. So I think Vinuku and her team will certainly look at that, and that is indeed something we want to cheer the Sri Lankan team and give them all the encouragement and inspiration. And thank you for your time and for inspiring the kids, Julian. So definitely look
together,
forward
guys,
to working with you all in the future.
The greatest thing is, if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, and this need today is a big need. There's a lot to do. If we go together, we can make that difference. So I'm happy to be part of this, Supem, and all you guys. Play my little role, and who knows what we can do.
Great. So thanks, Vinuku and your team, Akhil, Rahil and everyone else who's behind the scenes also. Thank you, Julian. We hope
Fantastic
to keep
team,
in
man.
touch
You're
with you
fantastic team.
and